Well, hello my beautiful bookish friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv if you're new here, and today we're going to chat about all the books I want to read in the month of September. This month is going to be a very straightforward or structured TBR rather, because I have a couple of vlogs that I am going to be sharing with you or hinting at what I'm going to be reading. One of them I can't share with you because it's like a secret vlog, but you will be seeing that in a week once this video releases, so you won't have long to wait. But the rest of my TBR is very high priority books or book clubs. I'm not going to do the whole random generator again like I did last month. I'll probably do that in October. Did I read all of those books that I blindly chose in August and my friends chose for me? No, I think I read one, maybe two. August ended up being a very slow reading month for me. It ended up being way crazier with life stuff than I thought, which is totally okay. We just go with the flow when it comes to life and reading. But I really do want to hunker down in September because I have a lot of things going on. So today's TBR is going to be very short and sweet, but it's obviously going to be full of fall books. So you can use this video as recommendations or what have you, but we're gonna go ahead and just dive straight into the books. So go ahead and grab yourself a pumpkin coffee, some cider, a fall drink, and let's just get to talking about the books. I'm genuinely excited about every single one of these books on my TBR, including A Sorceress Comes to Call, which is my Patreon book club pick of the month. If you guys don't know, I host a monthly book club called Tea Time Society, where we have a cozy, candid chat about the book that you guys get to choose. I usually like to include a different variety of books. I usually like to include backlist books as well, because if you're someone that uses your library a lot, like I should probably do more, I like to have books that are accessible to you. But also this book was one that I selfishly hoped would win because I am dying to read another Kingfisher. This book is right under 300 pages, and supposedly it is a reimagining of the Brothers Grimm's The Goose Girl, which I personally have not read. I heard this is a very dark relationship between a mother and a daughter, so maybe if you're a mom, tread lightly or look into the content for this one before you pick it up. Cordelia, our main character, has no friends except for a white horse, and I think that horse comes to be a big part of the story. If you've read from this author before, you will already know that she writes very kind of dark fairy tale books, which is 100% my jam. I love a good gothic story or anything like that, so I think this is going to be really fun to discuss. We are talking about this book on October 3rd, so you do have time to pick it up and read it along with us if you want to. The next book is one that is highly anticipated. I feel like you guys have heard me talk about it multiple times, but it's finally out in the world, and it's actually my friend Kendall's Patreon book club pick for September, and I'm so glad this one won because it's what I voted for. But we have Lady Macbeth by Reid. This book is such an interesting design or cover. We have the hot pink, but then the inside has these beautiful gothic kind of dark end pages. If I can get it open, this is so beautiful and definitely reminiscent of Study in Drowning. And then there's also a skull, on the back. This is such a cool book. It is a reimagining, not necessarily a retelling, of Lady Macbeth from Shakespeare, which is one of my favorite stories. A reimagining of Lady Macbeth, Shakespeare's most famous villainess, giving her a voice, a past, and a power that transforms the story men have written for her. I know this is a very dark story, a little bit horrific, might I say. I haven't actually read an adult book by her yet, so I'm a little bit scared, but something about this book is calling my name. Study in Drowning made my top favorites of last year, and so I'm really confident this could end up on my list again this year. For my in-person book club that I have here locally, we are going to be reading for the month of September A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Don't ask me why I said it that way, but I have tried to read this book, or actually I did read this a couple years ago. I rated it 3 stars. It wasn't necessarily my favorite, but also I was not a huge reader back then. I was kind of just getting into the swing of things. This book or series is constantly in my face, especially since the show came out, and I think we're actually planning to watch the first episode of it together. I actually really would love to continue the series and finish it because everybody talks about how crazy the ending of book book 3 is, because I've read some crazy plot twists before. I'm like, how crazy can this really be? But that is my motivation to get back into this series. I honestly don't remember much about it at all, other than there's a girl who is investigating, I think, a murder that happened in her town. She's in high school, and I did also read the reappearance of Rachel Price, which I really loved. So that is why I'm giving this series another chance, and hopefully it goes better the second time. These next 6 books are for vlogs, and I'm not going to tell you the specific reason I'm picking these up, but these next 6 books are going to be basically my next couple weeks, so you can definitely expect a little bit more in-depth thoughts about these in case you're thinking about picking them up yourself. We have Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. I have seen so many people, specifically my friend Jan and Kendall, read this and I believe rate it 5 stars, especially because it is very reminiscent of Part of Your World with the baby goat. Kendall said this may even top Just for the Summer for her, and she even cried. So I of course have to put this high on my list. It's about a girl who is like this medium. She goes to this farm and she has to investigate this whole ghosty situation. A clever con artist must convince a skeptical, sexy farmer of his property's resident real-life ghost if she's to save them all from a fate worse than death. This seems to me like there could be magical realism elements in this. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know what ride I'm in for. I've kind of avoided the synopsis because sometimes the best way for me to go into romances is completely blind, because I get burned out on romances very quickly. I feel like they all kind of follow the same formula at times, but this one sounds a lot like Part of Your World. It sounds like there's gonna be a lot of depth to the story. I know this was an aardvark choice, I believe, and I've just been hearing amazing things. So if my best friend says this is going to be one of her top favorite books of the year, I will not ask any questions. I will immediately pick this up. Another book that I've noticed is recently gaining a lot of traction is the Haunted Ever After or Haunted Ever After by Jen Deluca. I believe she wrote the Well Met series, I believe it's called. I've seen that everywhere for the longest time and it's never interested me, but with this book, this very much interests me. The cover is amazing, but obviously we have some haunted things going on, and even though I believe this does take place in Florida, I think there's gonna be some really creepy things happening, and we also love a good romance mixed in. It's a love at first haunting in a seaside town that raises everyone's spirits. Small coastal Florida towns often find themselves scrambling for the tourism dollars that the Orlando theme parks leave behind, and within the town limits of Boneyard Key, the residents decided long ago to lean into its ghostliness. Rick Royer, owner of the Hallowed Grounds coffee shop, embraces the ghost tourism that keeps the local economy afloat. Cassie Rutherford possibly overreacted to all of her friends getting married and having kids when she left Orlando and bought a flipped historic cottage in Boneyard Key. This is definitely giving Halloween Town or Gilmore Girls small town vibes. I know we're gonna have a cute little romance and probably a mystery involved as she's trying to figure out why her little cottage is haunted, so I am very intrigued. The next romance book that I really hope doesn't disappoint, I want to read this very soon because I don't want anyone else's opinions to sway me, because I've been really interested with this one. I feel like I found it and researched it myself. I haven't seen anyone else talk about it, so I'm hoping that this ends up being a 5-star read, and that is Given Our History by Kristyn J. Miller. This cover right here is the epitome of fall. This is about 2 professors, or at least one of them teaches history. There's another professor that gets hired on, and I think she actually used to date him or used to have a crush on him or something. So it almost feels like a second chance romance of some sort. I do know that we pop back and forth between the present and the past point of view, and there's also text messages back and forth, which is super fun. I don't think it's dual perspective, but honestly, I love a good flashback. So I feel like this book has great potential to be one of my favorite romances this year. Another romance book that I feel like needs no explanation or introduction whatsoever is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I have been dying to read this book. I started it last year and I made it 50 pages in. It was almost like it was right book, wrong time because I was just so busy. But I told myself if I don't read this by the end of the year, you're not buying any more books. Like, I have to read this book because of the amount of people that have told me that I am just absolutely going to love it. It's about a witch that goes to this cozy cottage with orphans, and she's kind of undercover teaching them how to become witches, but she can't let anyone else find out that she is one. And I think she falls in love with another teacher or another guy that's there. And this book just gives me all of the found family, cozy, witchy feelings that I want. I don't necessarily like super dark witchy things, but if we can get a little bit of magic sprinkled in throughout the story, this book I know is just going to make my top favorites of the year. So of course I'm going to continue to add this to my TBRs throughout the year until I read it. Next is a book that I was really hoping to get to last year, but for whatever reason just didn't read it. But this year I'm 100% making it a priority because she seems to come out with a spooky book every single year, and if I want to keep up, I have to catch up. And that book is Hex Education by Maureen Kilmer. If you guys have not read Suburban Hell and you like a quirky, spooky time with suburban moms, you 100% have to read that book. It had me laughing out loud so much, but also on the edge of my seat. And I know this book is going to be no different. She came out with Nightmare of a Trip this year that had to do with like a spooky amusement park, but this one is about 3 witches who are in college, and I don't think they believe they're witches, or they were kicked out of their coven or something, and I think they set their dorm on fire. I do really love a good friendship dynamic, and I think this book is just gonna be really fun. Give me the witchy vibes, the friendship vibes. I know her writing is good already and just very enjoyable, so if nothing else, I know this is gonna be a really fun time. But also it was blurbed by Samantha Downing, who said a scary, thrilling, and funny ride, and it was also blurbed by Rachel Harrison, which if you have not read Cackle or The Return, please make it your goal to read those this year. Another book that is kind of fitting the witchy theme that I have going on here is The OK Witch and the Hungry Shadow. This is actually a graphic novel, but I picked up the first one 2 years ago, maybe even 3 at this point, and I'm so sad I didn't read these back to back because I bought this when it first came out because I just read the first one and it was like a favorite of the year. I don't know what happened, but I feel like I'm definitely gonna need a little bit of a refresher. But if you are looking for a cozy, fun, mysterious time with great illustrations and a really quirky, funny cat, this is going to be perfect for you. I have not heard good or bad things about the second one. I just want to enjoy a fun, magical graphic novel this fall, and I do have a couple more that I do want to read. This one is definitely going to take priority for me. In the first book, there's a girl named Moth who kind of discovers that she has magical abilities. I think there's a family history that turns into a mystery and all sorts of fun things happen in that book, but this one, I don't know what to expect, so I am just along for the ride. Those books are like definite books that I know I'm going to be reading in September, so if I don't get to these next 2, that's totally okay with me. I'm hoping to be able to still mood read these books in between vlogs and other content I have planned, but the first book that I must read, that I am dying to read, that is Wisteria by Adalyn Grace. I recently just finished Foxglove, and I don't know what took me so long to read it after finishing Belladonna, because Belladonna was incredible. It was 6 out of 5 stars for me, and I did love Foxglove, but maybe not as much as the first one. I have seen a few people shed some tears over this one, and I'm a little bit scared. Also, I have to know before I'm accidentally spoiled or something. So good. Just know that if you like a gothic, dark romance, but you also like a really good mystery, some good plot twists, Regency or Bridgerton vibes, 100% you have to read Belladonna. That is like my #1 recommendation now for this time of year. I have 2 series that I want to finish this year. That is the Caraval series, I only have to read finale, and this series. And last but not least, which was on my August TBR, I did not get to it. This book was picked by my friend Rachel, and I have to read this book before it gets completely cold outside because I think this takes place on the coast. That is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. This is another book that I just need to read. I know it's gonna be 5 stars. I love Adrienne Young. I recently bought some of her backlist books. I'm just trying to read more books from some of my favorite authors, and she is like a top priority. I don't know much about this one at all. It's very vague. I just know there's a lot of atmosphere to this story. There's ancestral magic and unsolved murder and a second chance at true love. This is definitely already giving me June Farrow vibes, which was another favorite from last year. I really would love to see another one of her books end up on my favorites for this year. So I am more than happy to add this to my TBR again this month because I can't go into next year without reading another Adrienne Young. The last book that I really would love to get to, if I can't get to it until October, that's totally okay, but I must read The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. I think this comes out on the 20th, and I know nothing about this book. I read the synopsis when it was first released or talked about, but I have not read anything since. I'm hoping or getting from the cover some gothic vibes, but I don't know. We'll just see. I really would love to fit this into September, but I do know it is a rather big book. I think it's close to 450, 500 pages, which is a lot when I have a lot of other things going on. But this book, I have got to read another Erin A. Craig. Alright friends, well that is my September TBR. As you can tell, I didn't pick out any super spooky books just yet. I'm saving a lot of spooky books for October specifically when it's actually cold outside. So a lot of these are more transitional books or just fun books or books that I really want to get to before things get too crazy busy. If you have any of these books on your TBR as well, please let me know. But also let me know what your top read of September is going to be. Are you going into the spooky books already? But thank you so much for watching this video, sticking around. Fall is my favorite time of year to create content, and I love you guys so incredibly much for supporting my channel and watching and commenting and viewing. I just love you guys so incredibly much. So thank you for being here, and I will see you in my next fall video.